My name is Dr. John Hibscher. I received my education and doctor's degree from Northwestern University in Chicago. I've been a clinical psychologist for 35 years' time, and I've treated thousands of patients with anxiety panic disorder. I want to talk to you now about the difference between primary and secondary anxiety. Secondary anxiety is what we're going to be focusing on first. That secondary anxiety is the anxiety about the anxiety symptoms. So it's you're paying attention to and trying to control the symptoms of anxiety. You're trying to control your breathing, your heart rate, the uncomfortable feelings that the anxiety brings to you. And why do you try to do that? You try to do that not only because it's uncomfortable, but because you're very much afraid of these symptoms. The more you try to control them, the more they get out of control, and that scares you even more. So we want to look at what maintains that secondary anxiety. This is a fear-based system. So it needs fear to continue. If the fear is eliminated, the anxiety cycle goes away. It's just like having the ingredients for a fire. You need to have all ingredients for the fire to occur. You need oxygen, you need fuel, combustible material, and you need a heat source. If you take any one of those away, fire doesn't result, the system diminishes. And so what maintains the fear is the secondary anxiety. That's what we need to address first. And the secondary anxiety is maintained by the fact that you have beliefs now about this anxiety. It occurred and you don't know why. And that's a very frightening experience for a human being, to not know why something occurred, because it means that we don't have control over it. It could occur anytime, again, any place. And therefore, that's why you start avoiding different places. You don't go there. You stay away because this anxiety could occur. You don't want to be alone when it occurs, so you stop driving. You don't do your ordinary activities. And what happens when we start avoiding or escaping situations that we've typically gone to, we get some immediate relief. You don't have to experience the anxiety of going to that situation where the secondary anxiety creates more anxiety. But the cost of that, every time we avoid, that is, we anticipate going someplace and don't go there, or escape that situation, go there and then back away because we're uncomfortable. Although we do have the immediate reduction of uncomfortability, the cost is that next time we approach that same or similar situation, we're going to have more anxiety. So hence, the anxiety increases, gets larger and larger over time with every avoidance or escape that you do. So what generates this continued fear? Without the continued fear in the system, without the continued anxiety, and anxiety and fear psychophysiologically and at a physiological level are exactly the same types of arousal. The difference between fear and anxiety is that in a fear response, there's a specific threat, and we can deal with that threat directly. So if you are afraid of snakes and a snake is present, you have anxiety, fear type of symptoms occurring, and what you can do to reduce that is that you either deal with the snake by removing it or removing yourself from the snake. There's something specific you can do. With anxiety, that's not the case. But what maintains the anxiety is a continued fear response. And what causes that fear response? What causes that continued anxiety that you're putting into the system? First of all, it's your beliefs. This occurred for reasons you don't know, so you begin to think it means something very, very serious. It means something that's going to harm you tremendously at a physical or emotional or mental level. And we think such thoughts as, this is going to kill me, I'm going to have a heart attack, I'm not going to survive this, or it's going to cause some type of mental or emotional illness where I won't be who I used to be. And those beliefs are very, very frightening. They cause anxiety. And so it makes sense that you continue to try to control these symptoms, to make it go away. Not only because it's uncomfortable, but because you don't want to have these terrible consequences occur to you. So now it becomes very, very important to control these symptoms because of these beliefs. So you try to control it, and what happens? The more you try to control it, the more it doesn't respond to your efforts. And that causes more fear. You say to yourself, oh my God, I'm really doing everything I can to control this, and it's not working. This means I'm going to have this the rest of my life, and perhaps it's going to be worse. The reality is that all of your attempts to control it are going to cause a paradoxical, backfiring type of response. This is the reason a lot of people go to other therapists and aren't able to achieve the type of results they need to eliminate the anxiety. Because these therapists attempt to guide you through methods of control, relaxation procedures, etc., that just don't work. And you become more frightened and more dependent upon other means such as minor tranquilizers to try to control and avoidance and escape from things in your life. With anxiety, its interference in behavior is really a bell-shaped type of curve, kind of a normal curve. So that if we have a little bit of anxiety about doing something that is not totally familiar to us, that anxiety actually helps performance. We actually do a little bit better. When anxiety increases too much, it interferes with what we're trying to do. So if we take something that we do very well, for instance, a golfer, professional golfer that hits a golf ball 95% of the time straight and far, and we present a different situation to him that increases anxiety or fearfulness about performance. If we say to him, for example, if in fact you hit this ball 9 out of 10 times straight down the fairway, we're going to give you an opportunity to hit it only 8 out of 10 times. But if you fail to do that, there's going to be this very serious cost to you. You'll have to end your career, or you'll have to pay some huge life cost that's very important to you. With increasing anxiety about performance at that point, it's very unlikely that the professional golfer who does this all the time will be able to do what we've set as the task in front of him. He will fail because anxiety interferes with his usual performance. And so we see the interfering effect of anxiety itself. Now when you're trying to control anxiety, there's the same backlash, backward type of response. We call it paradoxical intent. And let me end today by giving you a final example of how that works with paradoxical intent. This is a true story of a surgeon who had anxiety. And he had anxiety that displayed itself in profuse sweating. And he became very concerned about that. He had secondary anxiety about that symptom. He was trying to control that symptom. He had anxiety about his anxiety. He didn't want to be sweating, so he was monitoring that all the time. And he was particularly concerned about this symptom as it occurred during surgery. He was concerned about how the nurses and other medical professionals would interpret this symptom. So he was seeing a therapist and got the suggestion from the therapist that he might try something different. The therapist asked him how much he sweat. And with some irritation and reluctance, the physician responded that maybe a quart, maybe 2 quarts during the usual surgery. And so the suggestion was given, and the surgeon finally accepted, to really shock the nurses, to put out 1 gallon instead of his usual ½ gallon. And he agreed. He said he might as well try it. And what happened with this paradoxical intent? He did not sweat. He was no longer afraid. He no longer had anxiety about his anxiety symptom. So that gives you a glimpse into where we're going to go with your treatment. and a successful and fairly quick way of eliminating anxiety and panic from your life. That will be available to you in the next 2 sessions.